Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Late Afternoon at the Coast. It's a 7x14. And I completed this one yesterday. We are working on a nice bit of hardboard, and it's been prepped with 2 coats of transparent gesso. That's why it looks like there ain't nothing on it. And then after that, I do a little bit of sanding and light sanding. You don't want to sand all that off. You really need that gesso to sort of keep the paint from being absorbed directly into the board or panel. Yeah, it's pretty important. I like to rub it down with a little bit of linseed oil prior to working, just so I can see the well, two reasons. One, I can see the true color of the board, and two, I can do a little bit of erasing, as you just saw me do. Yeah. I did quite a lot of initial preparatory work for this scene in Photoshop. I started with a quite straightforward modern digital photograph, and essentially took it for a major ride. And this is a hidden part of my process that well, people in the members area would see it. First of all, in the members area you get to see the reference image, but there are also several videos where I go through my preparatory process for reference images, because it was back when I first started out, I was bringing up the photo, printing out the photos back then. And I would think, oh, I want to do this with it, I want to do that with it. And a lot of those things I wanted to do, of course, were based on imagination. But what I found is that a lot of times I would just start pulling things from the photo that were inappropriate, that I should have left out. And that is a real problem. Now, these days, I don't do that nearly as much. But there can always be a tendency towards that end, and this is one of the reasons that I like to manipulate my photo reference pretty extensively, depending, of course, on the scene. Here, it was looking quite rich and beautiful on its own, which is there's many times where it may be quite garish. I really don't mind. The whole point is to get something that is inspiring and that makes you want to get your brushes and paints out and realize that image or scene as a painting. And that really is, that would never be a case. I don't care how nice my reference image might be looking after the extensive manipulation I go through. The painting is always the end goal. It's always what I'm shooting for. Yeah. So yeah, this scene is based on a kind of coastal scene. Yeah, I believe it's out here in New Zealand. It could be somewhere else. I'm not too fussed about that. Really, I'm just into doing these sorts of scenes right now. And I have to say, I feel I'm getting much better at doing the water portion. Skies, if you've been with me any time at all, I've been painting skies for a long time. So I usually have some idea what I want to do there. And one of the things that came to me on this one was that I wanted to use not an overly large brush for the sky. Now that could be, if you look at the early days of this channel, you'll see I was using way bigger brushes for that sort of thing. And that was to get over my tendency to over detail and overwork things in my painting. These days it's not so much of an issue. I have that under control. So a lot of times I might use a brush this size. This is a 2. So I have some control, especially if I know I want small transitions, things like that. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the way this guy came out, but like I said, I'm real happy with the way I pulled off the water. And the water aspect of the reference image was one of it just wasn't super inspiring. I tried to get it into a place where, and lots of times I'll do that, I get it to a place where I know I can finish off the idea in my painting process, you know. So I wanted to also today I've been trying to get into a few technical things with you. Oh yeah, now on the and also in the members area, you'll see there's a lot of people ask me questions about color quite often. In the members area, I break down the painting right after doing the drawing stage. I'll break the painting down into like 10 to 14 constituent color mixes. So, and usually I run through that with the members, and they get to see what, you know, at least the basic architecture of the color palette was for the painting, and I think it's real valuable. I will say that when it comes to color, you know, the best way to learn color is by making a lot of paintings, you know, and coming up with sort of your own ideas and approach to color. Let's face it, you have your favorite colors, you're going to have your favorite pigments. With me, my approach to color is quite intuitive. Oh, hey, got the ad for the book coming up here. The book, I have books, I still have books, and you know, we'll see when we sell a few more, we may do another print run. The cost of the book is $60. It has pretty much all the information that I'm trying to impart in this channel in one spot. That's the thing. I always get people saying, "Oh, you never talk about this, you never talk about that," when I know for a fact that maybe I've talked about it 20 or 30 times. But on a channel with hundreds and hundreds of videos, that can be a real challenge, especially since I'm not really that adept at doing all the tagging and about the things that I discuss. One thing's for sure, in the members area, it's not like you get teachy every minute, but since we are in the throes of battle together, it's real, you know, and I have to say that a tip or an insight that comes through in the real-time painting session can be extremely valuable, you know. And this is the nature of tips, and for me, I don't know about you, but I learn through insights. Like one good insight can change my approach to painting almost completely. You know, it's not that often with where I'm at as a professional these days that happens, but certainly it happened a lot early on. You know, like I give you an example. Like when I was first learning, I had Bob Rome's book, which is the Painterly, I think Painterly Approach is what it's called. It's ROHM. Great book. One thing he pointed out is that he always has the point of greatest contrast is his focal point, so it might be where the darkest tree hits the brightest bit of the sky. That's an insight, very valuable. You know, I found it valuable, and I've actually made it, you know, completely digested it and internalized it now, so I rarely actually think about it. It's just something I do automatically, you know. And that's what you want. You've got to internalize those insights in the teaching. And the best way, of course, to do that is by doing a lot of paintings. Oh, we heard from you, Mike. We heard, but no, we're going to... actually, what I'd like you to do after this video is over, maybe you've got some inspiration. Maybe you're thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. I'd love to do something like that. You know, go out and find yourself some reference image, get yourself a board, and get to work. And now, you could have a lot of impediments, like maybe you don't have a board handy or a canvas handy. That's something you should deal with. You should always have yourself a bunch of boards ready to go, a bunch of reference images you think would be great to paint. They should just be sitting there waiting for you to stop procrastinating. Stop procrastinating and get some work done, okay? But that's one of the things you can do while you're procrastinating. You can just start finding scenes you think would be great to paint, or doing board prep, you know. At that point in time, when you say, okay, I will paint today, then you can just grab a board and you can ride that momentum of the wave of inspiration to its you know, scintillating and amazing conclusion of a actual painting being produced, right? And the more of these actual paintings you produce, I get so many people coming into my studio, oh, you're so prolific, and they're seeing a tiny fraction of my output. I always have the same answer. It says, well, you cannot get good unless you do a lot of work. There's no way. You know, you can think about it until the cows come home. You can watch videos also till the cows come home, but ultimately you've got to do the painting. Oh, let's talk a little bit about this this blue. Now that's Prussian blue, and it's got really pretty kind of sort of green nature. I did discover in this painting session that I could counterbalance some of that with the dioxazine purple. Yeah. But in the ocean, of course, you want to play up that green characteristic. I really had fun painting this water, and in the reference image, it was quite choppy looking. I don't really like to paint little tiny jitty chops in my water. I like to sort of impart a feeling like you get when you have a long exposure. You know, where things are softened up a little, but there's still some activity. But I have to admit that because I haven't done as much painting of oceans and water, it's quite often that I will just have this feeling like, I don't really know how this is going to work out. I don't really know if this is going to be good. And but I persevere, and usually I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. And that's the other thing too. See, I'm bringing in little bits of purple there, so I love playing with the greens, the yellow greens, the deep blues. Very much like the sky, in that I might have a gray sky, but I'll bring in so many other colors that it won't seem all that gray. This one had a bit of color in it. I did play it up a little bit, as is my way. Same with the water too. Within the reference image, quite dullish, grayish. I played up the pretty tones, and you really want pretty colors in your painting. What you don't want is super bright, saturated colors that are icky looking. But you want your colors to have a nice, pretty quality. And many times as I'm mixing, I go, no, if you can hear this in the members area where I go, no, that's not pretty enough. Let's pretty this up, you know. And I might reach for something like a crimson, or I might reach for some purple, or I might reach for some blue, or I might reach for, and that's a byproduct that I'm using a tiny brush there, by the way. It's a 0 Silver Grand Prix that was sent to me by a member of the channel, a wonderful man, and really it's been great. Yeah. I had to also, we're almost done with this video, but you see that big rock I'm painting there now coming out of the water. Actually, that was way over onto our right. I moved it kind of strategically so it would help with the composition. That's kind of like one of the first places we come in, and then we go over to the mountain range, and then we come down, you know, and then we move around in the sky, and we have a nice little loop going. It took me a long time to start really sussing out proper composition techniques for this sort of scene, because you always have that open side where the water is. But one thing I will say is, like, you see I'm putting the lighter tones up against the rocks and the land. That's a good way to direct the eye. You don't want to put a lot of bright little waves and stuff over at the end there, where you're going to kind of get hung up on them. Yeah. But ultimately, I'm super proud of this painting, and I'm going to have this in my store. I'm really stoked with it. I love the goldenness of the redness of the landforms, the colors in the sky and the water, and I think it's a big success, if I don't say so myself. So it'll be in my store. You can go ahead and purchase it. It'll probably be like, I'm thinking probably $2.99 US. So that'll be a good price. Or you go ahead and grab that book. You know, you probably won't regret that. And another way to support me is just leave me a nice comment, or you can leave me a nice fat tip at the thank you button, or go to my site and leave me a donation. It's all good. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Until I come back with another video for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones, and stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family.